Okay, guys. So I hope we are live now. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's sessions, wherein we're basically build a React app, and the app will be a superhero app, wherein we'll be searching for superheroes, and we'll be creating a list of superheroes, and we can basically favorite our superheroes and create a list and search for superheroes, right? And this will totally be of React. We will be using React. Uh, but first, let me just in the chat, guys, please let me know if you can hear me as well as uh, if the voice is audible, if everything is fine. Let me know on the chat, guys. Great, guys. So I think prerequisites, as such, the prerequisite is basically that you should know JavaScript, and that's it. We will basically starting to learn React from the basics. So first we'll build a basic application, and then we'll move on to build our own application. Hi Durgesh, hi everyone. Good evening, Swagato. I hope everyone is doing fine. Hmm. Great. Okay, guys. So, guys, registration link I think would be uploaded soon. Don't worry about that. It will be provided by the team in the chat itself. So don't worry. Or you can basically go to events page on Coding Ninja's website, and for this particular event, just go and register over there. Okay. Aditi, yes, laptop is required. Obviously, if you want to, I mean, just code along with me, and I'll advise everyone to do so. Just code along with me. That would be really helpful for you guys as well, and you'll learn a lot that ways. But obviously, you can totally watch it without coding as well. But I'll advise you to basically use a laptop and code along with me. Hi Nagaraja, hi everyone. Great guys. So I think let's start, guys. Before starting, let me just give you a few details. Hello Vyom, hello Asmita. Great guys. So okay, cool. So let me just give you a few details. The repo which I will be using will be this in the description box down below. And no, Aditi, you cannot basically do this on your phone. That is not possible. You cannot code on your phone. So avoid doing that. And hello, Rajat. How are you? Hi, Ravi. Hi, everyone. So, so I'm not sure what's your name. It's written PS. So PS Career Camp. If you want to know more about Career Camp, we have already had a webinar. I think 2 3 days ago or something like that. Just go and check the Coding Ninjas YouTube channel and just go and check out the videos. So yeah. So yes, guys, we will basically be going to use Visual Studio. Obviously, you can use any editor of your choice, but I'll be going to use VS Code, and I'll advise you to do that also. And you would require Create React App tool. Just install it via npm I -g create React App. That's it, and I'll just show you the website as well, right? So don't worry about that. And IDE will be VS Code, guys, again. And the repo, the GitHub repo, which I will be using, is down in the description box. Please just check that out. Um, okay, so let's start, guys. Let me just quickly share my screen. Great. So everyone, are you able to see my screen, guys? Is everyone able to see the screen? Yes, Vineet, you can use Notepad++, but again, VS Code provides you very good functionalities. So I'll definitely advise you to use VS Code. So everyone can you see my screen? Hmm. Okay, great, guys. So open the browser and I'll just quickly navigate to the repo. Okay, guys. So, guys, this is basically the repo that I'll be pushing everything. I'll be pushing my code, and what we are going to build today is basically a superhero app wherein we will be using an external API, and using that API, we will be able to search for superheroes, and we will be able to basically uh, collect superheroes, gather a list of superheroes, and we can basically save them as well, right? So we'll be creating a simple app for that using React, and most of all, we'll be learning a few concepts of React. So that's the whole agenda of this today's session: learning React from basic and building a basic application using an API, right? So because nowadays, basically in every application, you would require an API. Whenever you are building a React application, you will need APIs, right? You will use a lot of APIs. So today's agenda of this session is basically to demonstrate how to use an API with React and build a simple enough application. Okay. Yes, Ashwarya, repo is empty currently because I have not started any coding, right? So I'll quickly create a new repo. I'll basically create a code repo using create React app tool, guys, and then basically we'll start. So guys, we basically have to download create React app tool if you do not have already, and make sure everyone already has. Uh, make sure everyone already has npm installed, npm and node. If you do not have npm and node, just just write download npm, or rather download node.js. So node.js link will come up. There you will basically have a lot of options to download, right? So use the LTS version and just download the whatever your system is, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, or whatever. Just download that, and npm will basically come with that, right? So just download from there. Great. So this is a tool, create React app, which we basically have to download. So using this tool, which is basically created by Facebook, we can set up a boilerplate code for a React application. Okay. Just download that. Here it is written npm I create React app, right? Just use that, guys. Let me go back. Instead of doing npm I create React app, just do npm I minus g create React. That's the command. And I'll put it in the chat as well. Npm I minus g create React app. So basically what it will do is it will download this particular package, create React app, as globally in your computer, right? And once you have done that, we can then basically create a project using this tool, right? So let's quickly start the project as well, guys. You will require a terminal. So open a terminal, whatever terminal you like. So guys, if font size is not good enough or anything is required, just let me know on the chat. I'll increase the font and everything, right? So what we need to do is we will just say create React app and your project name, right? So whatever project is you want to create. So what we are basically creating, we will create React superhero, right? And once this is basically set up, I'll also push my code onto GitHub as well, onto the repo, which is again linked in the description box below, right? So I'll do that as well, guys. So this will take some time. In the meanwhile, let me just show you the API that we will be using. So just navigate to superheroapi.com, right? So just navigate to that. And this is the website. This is the API that basically we will be using. And here you will basically able to get your access token. So you will need to have a Facebook account, just log in from there and it will give you a Facebook token, right? And using this token, we will basically make requests to this API, right? And let me just show you one example, right? And here you can see the different APIs which it provides. We have this /ID. So we can search a superhero by their ID, by their character ID, basically, right? And we can just grab their power stats as well, again by the character ID of that superhero. Whatever the stats of that superhero is, strength, agility, speed, and things like that, right? And let's go on further. We will have this again biography of that particular superhero, where the superhero was born and things like that. You again using the character ID. Each superhero has a character ID, but our main API will be the search API, which is this one, right? So we will be able to search for any superhero. So let's just use this particular API over here. And how to use it? Just instead of access token, put the access token which you have, right? This is my access token. Don't use this, because if you are using the same access token and if multiple requests are there, then they'll not allow to use it, right? So using this access token and the name, if I just type bat, let's search, hit enter, and it will give you a JSON object, right? And here you can see this is the results for my bat, right? And you can see different things here. This is bat girl, the very first item, search item. Second is again bat girl. Again, there'll be different bat girl. If you go and check the biography, the name of that particular superhero will be different. First result name is in biography Barbara Gordon. Second bad girl is basically biography. If you go and check Mary Elizabeth Kane and things like that, right? You'll definitely get Batman also. There's Batgirl 3, there's Batgirl 4. I think definitely you'll have Batman also somewhere. Here's the Batman, right? So again, each and every superhero object will have also an image. And once we have this particular image displayed on our application, it will be very easier for you guys. If I just open one image over here of Batman, you see this is the image, right? So this is the future Batman. I don't remember what was the name. The Batman Begins series, if you guys remember. Anyways, so each and every superhero object has an image, and we'll display it while we're searching, right? In the React tab. This is the API, guys. I'll mention this particular link again in the README as well. I hope my project is ready. So my project is ready. You can see everything is done. And I can just do cd react superhero. And if I do ls, you see this is basically my project, right? So let me just open this in Visual Studio Code, and we'll go run through the files and everything, right? So this is my Visual Studio. Let me just drag it over here. Great. So my Visual Studio is this one. And again, let me just increase the font size. Awesome, guys. So let me just quickly put everything useful inside the README and push it onto GitHub so that you guys can access it totally. And again, if you have any doubt, guys, just put it on the chat and I'll definitely have a look over there, right? So let's just delete everything and let's just put our, at the very top, let's put the project name. Project name is React Superheroes, right? And let's give a subheading kind of thing. This will be an application to search for superheroes and save them by building a list, right? Available useful resources, right? Let me just write useful resources. Here I'll give the API which we'll be using. Superhero API. This is the API, right? And let's just quickly review the document. So I think let's remove this. This is fine. Yeah. Okay, guys. So I think this is fine. So this is the README superhero API. This is the one. Yeah. Also, let me just write Node.js as well and things like that. Download Node.js. Okay, and let me write download, or let's write just create React app. And this is a link for that. I'm putting all the useful links here, right? Awesome. And going back to again here, get config user dot email. Let me just do some configuration before pushing. .tyg.com. Great. Git remote add origin. This is my repo. Just copy this. Great. And everything is done. Git status. Add this. Let me just put a commit. Update readme. Git push origin master. So now I guys hope everything will be there available on the repo. So if you just go and check out the repo and refresh, you will have all the latest code and everything over here, right? So we have everything over here, the code and everything, and also we have this, right? So this is the useful resources, superhero API that we will be using. Node.js, you can download from here. Create React app, you can download from here, right? And again, moving forward, if anything comes up, we can just basically put everything here, right? Awesome. So now our app is basically ready. Before just going and checking all of the stuff that is coming from the Create React app tool, let's just run the application first. So how to run the application? Just do npm start. So we'll then do an npm start, and it will basically start a server for us. And the server will most probably be running on the port 3000. Right, so just basically, guys, start coding with me if you're not already done that. Just clone the repo from here. Right? And you can follow along with me, right? Okay, so let's open localhost 3000. Localhost 3000. And this will basically give me the React application, my application, which is running, right? So let's just wait for a minute to open it. It may take some time. Yep, it may take some time. Yes, so everything is ready. and my app should start working. Yes. So React logo in the middle and everything, right? So this should be available to you guys if you are following along, if you're using Create React tab, guys. So this should basically uh, be your starting point. So Create React tab basically is a tool that gives us a boilerplate code. We don't have to create or set up anything, right? We can just start coding along. Okay, awesome, guys. So let's just quickly go through the project structure. What is the structure and everything, how things are, and what files and folders Create React app has created for us, right? So let's just go through it. Okay, guys. Okay. So guys, the node modules folder, what is this? So this basically, this is the folder which contains all of your third-party packages and dependencies and stuff like that, right? So we'll come to this in a moment. Let's come to the main and very important file, which is package.json over here. Here you can see a lot of stuff, right? So this is basically a JSON file with some configuration, right? And this is the name of our app, the version of our app. We can change version, private is true, dependencies. So this is the dependencies basically. So these are dependencies which are required to run the project, right? Required to run our React project. So what are the required dependencies? We have the React package. We have the React DOM package. We have the React scripts package, right? We have these testing libraries, right? These are the packages which will be installed, and where these packages will reside, they will reside in the node modules folder over here. And whatever dependencies in turn these packages will have, React will have some dependency. For example, if React is using some other package, right? So everything will be basically downloaded over here. So whatever dependencies we have over here, plus these packages would also have dependencies. So they would basically go inside the node modules folder. That's the thing, right? And we have scripts. Scripts is basically what we do, right? We just saw one script over here when we ran npm start over here, right? So what is the start command? Start command is eventually doing this. It's basically doing React scripts start. React script is basically a package which is basically handling all the stuff of compilation and creating a server for you and things like that, right? So this is the package which basically started the server for us, right? Here you can see we have the server running at localhost 3000, right? So, uh, so each and everything is basically some command, and again, React script is responsible for running that, right? Diksha, did not add anything. I did not add any API package. These everything is basically coming from the Create React app. I'm going to use this superhero API, this one over here. I have not used it yet, right? Again, Jakaria Hussein, if you want to basically set up, just again, guys, rewind the video. You'll see what I was talking about, how to set up the project, right? And again, Diksha, this is basically not, I've not done anything. I've just ran one command, which is called create react app. And this has basically built me this project. I do not have any API or anything done yet, right? Everything is from the beginning. I've not coded a single line. Right, anyways, so moving on, we have some ESLint configuration. We have some browser list, which basically tells which browsers this app should run at, right? Okay, cool. So this is the package.json file, which is a very important file, right? Uh, then move on to gitignore. Gitignore is nothing, just things that we write so that to not push into the GitHub repo. That's it, nothing else. README is again the README file. Yarn.lock, we don't have to consider about this. We basically just have some exact versions of the packages that we have, right? So whatever packages we have in node modules, exact versioning will be here. That's it. Anyways, if we go to the source folder, Ankit, boilerplate is basically some code set up for you. You do not have to set up yourself, right? If you're basically building a React application without using any tool like Create React app, you would have to download a lot of stuff. You would have to download React package, React DOM package. You would have to set up uh, what do you call these tools in the sense Webpack and things like that, Babel and things like that to convert your code and everything. So this is already set up for us. This gives me some certain files. That is basically called a boilerplate, which already gives me some files, right? And we don't have to do anything. This source folder is the most important folder wherein we will have everything. Whatever code we write, we'll write in source folder, right? And public is the folder which will eventually serve, which is eventually serving over here, right? Because this is a single page application, guys. So React is basically used to create single page application, whereas there's only one page, right? Uh, so index.html is only one page and everything else is basically handled by React, right? So here you can see div root. So whatever we will create components and everything, it will go inside this root div, right? And everything will be done by JavaScript. Adding divs inside this div and removing divs and everything is done by JavaScript. That's why this is only one single page. We do not require any other page, and we don't actually change index.html. Everything is done by React, right? Everything is done by basically create React app for us. Anyways, so this is the logo which I think we are using, which is basically animating like this, right? And Utkarsh ESLint is basically just a tool to check if your code is wrong or not, right? So if you're doing some errors in your code, ESLint will just give you error in that particular line. So ESLint is used for that. Okay. So these are the logos that we are using, robot.txt and everything. We are not considered anything, right? So we don't want to use that. Anyways, okay, guys. So let's change some code and let's start coding quickly. So again, guys, we will be using React hooks in throughout the session. And let's quickly delete some files which we do not require as per se, right? So let's use a terminal for that. So we won't require app.css, right? Let's go into source first. So we have index.cs file, guys. This is the main index file. We'll put every styles in this particular file, right? So we don't require app.css. We don't require app.test.js. We are not going to talk about testing over here. We don't require logo.svg, right? We don't require service worker. We don't require setup tests. Right, so just let's remove those, and these files have been removed, and this will give us an error because these logos and everything is being used somewhere, right? And this is the index.js file inside the source folder, guys, which is the very most important file. Let's remove things which we have removed. Service worker is not no longer there. Let's remove it. So let's just run through the code. So what's basically saying is that using React DOM is the package that we're basically using to render our application on the browser, right? This will render. What we're doing is basically we're telling what to render. We want to render our app, right? So let's remove this just for explaining purposes. So what we're rendering is we're basically rendering our app component, right? And where is app component coming from? App is component is coming from here. Import app from app. This is the file app.js. This is our component, right? Let's remove which we have do not have any longer. We don't have the logo. Let's remove this. Let's remove everything here, and we'll say hello world. Save it, and I think everything should run. Let's go and refresh. Okay, so we have to remove app.css as well because we don't have that file anymore. Yes, so we have this hello world, guys. If you can see, I'll just zoom in. On the top left, you can see we have the hello world, right? So we have basically removed everything which is not required anyways, right? Hmm. Okay, so Chandrasekhar, basically single page application is where you have only one page, as the name suggests, right? So currently you see we have in public folder we have index.html. We don't have any other HTML page. A page is basically an HTML file, right? So single page application basically means you have only one HTML page. Hmm. So Mihir, basically React strict mode is basically used to check for some errors, right? Some syntax errors or something like that, right? Some linting errors basically. So I've removed that. It would be easier for us just to understand the whole thing. Okay, cool guys. So now let's quickly start coding. This is our app, right? And this is our component, functional component, right? So we have two types of component in React. We have the class-based components, we have the functional-based component, right? We will be using the functional-based component only, and we'll be learning about React hooks because it's easier to learn. And class-based component is basically a little bit tricky to understand if you are doing it for the very first time, right? And I hope everyone knows JavaScript, guys, because it is required for this, right? Just basic understanding of JavaScript. Okay, so let's move on, guys. So let me just quickly give you some brief concepts of React. Okay, so guys, why was React introduced? Why? What is the purpose of React, basically, right? Because we can totally write our application in pure vanilla JavaScript. That means only using JavaScript without any frameworks or library, right? Uh, right. So React is basically a library which is used to create the front end part, right? Which is basically used to create the UI. So let me just quickly first commit the code, guys, so that you guys can have that code. Uh, so git commit -m, remove unwanted files. Okay, guys, so you can now check the GitHub repo, and you're basically uh, have the updated code. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, so I was talking about React. Why is React introduced? So, guys, the main purpose of JavaScript, using JavaScript is basically the main problem that these frameworks and libraries are solving is, I think the main thing is using JavaScript, you basically have to manage state, right? And what is state? State is nothing but data, right? You have to manage data. So for example, if I am basically take an example of Facebook, right? And if I basically see a person's post, my friend's post on my timeline, right? I just like that particular post, right? My friend's post. And if I then go and click on the friend's name and navigate to the friend's profile, so I just go to that particular person's profile, obviously they will have their post in their timeline as well, right? In their profile, basically. So obviously my like should appear there as well, right? So this is basically you have to sync up the data throughout your application, right? And this is just a simple example for Facebook application. And Facebook is a very big application, right? And obviously, if you create a post, on your timeline, it will appear just in your timeline, right? And obviously, if you go back to your profile, that post should be there also, right? It should be available there also. So you have to basically sync up the state, you have to manage the state, and you have to basically manage the whole state, and you have to make sure that state does not mismatches on different places, in different places, right? That basically means whatever data you have, it should be synchronous across your application, and it should not mismatch somewhere, right? So it should not do that. There should not be inconsistencies in your data, right? That's the whole process of introducing state. Okay, so why and how React helps us over here is that we do not have to manage. I mean, we have to manage state, right? So each and every component can have a state, right? Each and every basically component can have a state. And again, what is state? State is nothing, just a data, right? The data for that particular component. So for example, if I say over here, hello, I want to write my name over here, right? Again, this is a piece of data, guys, right? This is a piece of data that what is the name, right? And the future, this particular name can change, right? This can basically change. So I can, you can imagine that if in a component some part of data is changing, or you can think that that data can change over time, then you basically push that into the state, right? And we'll see how to manage state in a component. And yeah, so let's do that only. So how to manage a state, right? So let me show you. So what you need to do is, again, this is a function, guys, right? You can get your state like this. State equals to, and we call a function known as use state in React, right? So use state is basically a function which is coming from React. So here you can see at the top that we have this use state importing from React package, right? This is a function which we are calling, right? And using this use state function, it basically helps us to create a state for this particular application, right? And eventually what we are doing, eventually in this particular state, we are basically want to save name, right? We want to save name. So let's name its name over here, right? Instead of state, let's name it, let's name the variable name, right? And inside this use state, we can pass an argument, and this argument can be anything, right? And this would be the initial state of that particular component, right? So if this name, right, we're using the name variable and we are calling the use state function, and we're passing it as an empty string. That means we're basically telling the app component that this name should be empty by default, right? So let's use this and let's console log what name is, right? So let's console log what this use state function will return to us, right? Let's do that. If I save and if I open the console, if I basically zoom in, so here you can see in the console that we have this array, right? And it gives me two things basically. There is this function and there is this empty string, right? So this use state function, what it returns is it returns an array to me, and this array, this name will be an array, and at the very first position will be the default value. So what is the default value? This is the default value, an empty string, right? And the second thing in the array, which is this one, it's a function, right? And this function is basically used to change the state, change the name state. So initially this particular function is basically having an initial state of empty string, and we will now have another function, and that function, using that function, calling that function, we can basically change the state, right? And how we can do that, let's go over here, and at the 0th index we have the we have the empty string, right, which is the default value. If I change this to Akash, it will basically change, right? I can basically call the function, right? This name first, right? Name is an array. So at the first index, we have this function. So I can just call that function like this, right? And I can pass in any value, whichever I want, right? So I want to change the name to, let's say, mm, Mark. If I save, refresh, okay. Okay, so we're not allowed to do that actually. We'll come to this in a moment. But what I was trying to tell you guys is this is basically an array. So what we can do is, instead of doing like this, we can just destructure the elements inside the array, which is name. And second thing is basically coming as set name. So set name is a function that we will call to change the name, right? So now what we have done, we have just got these two values. Name is the default string. If we go and check over here, yes, here you can see name is now the default string, which is basically the default string is Akash. And if you see set name, this will basically be the function, and this function would be called to change the name, right? And we'll see that in a moment. Okay, let's refresh. And here you can see this is basically a function, right? This is set name. This is a function. Great. So now we haven't seen what state is, right? And we can have multiple states inside a component. If you want to store, let's say, address of the user. So here you can call it address, and you can name this function as set address. You can name this anything basically, right? General convention is to whatever your naming is, name of the variable, just add set to it, right? Set address, because eventually it's basically going to change the address, right? So here we can uh, add different state, right? So you can have different state variables throughout. Okay, guys. So I hope this is clear for now. So this is basically state. And one more thing which I would want to tell you guys is, let's add a button as well, or rather, let's use this variable over here. How to use the variable? Just use curly braces over here. Just use curly braces, and inside this, write whatever variable names you're using. So in React, whatever variables you want to use, right? So just use curly braces. And again, guys, this particular thing, which you can see over here, it kind of looks like HTML, but this is not HTML. This is called JSX, and this is basically JavaScript, right? But JSX gives us the liberty to basically make the syntax look a little bit like HTML, so that it's easier for us, right? So this is basically JSX. This is JavaScript. This is not HTML at all, right? Because we are writing JavaScript. You can see we have app.js file. Anyway, so we have hello name, and now here you can see we have hello Akash. So whatever the name value is, it will come over here, hello Akash, right? So let's add a button over here quickly. I want to add a button. So just demonstrating a few concepts of React, guys, before moving on to the actual project, right? So if I say change name, right? This is a change name button, right? And what we want to do is, on click of it, we want to change the name of this particular variable, right? So let's do that. How we do that? We just have to write a click event handler like this, on click, and here we can pass any function, right? So let's write a function change name. So we'll create a function over here. I hope you guys are aware that we can write functions inside functions. So what will happen is, on click of this change name function will be called, right? And what this will do is, eventually this would call set name, and this would change the name to Mark. Okay, guys, so what you've done, you just added a new button called change name, on click of which this function change name would be called. Change name is this one, and set name is, again, this is the function set name, which is called to change the name state, right? So earlier it is Akash. When we click on the button, it should give us Mark, right? So we have this change name button. So the beauty of React will come now, wherein if I change the name, you see it automatically changes the name, right? From Akash to Mark. So how is this happening? So React is basically doing all of this internally, wherein uh, for a particular state, whenever you change that state, right? So be it name, address, or whatever state you're creating using this useState function, if you call this function, the second function in the array, if you call set name or set address or whatever, if you call that, React will automatically change the state. First of all, this name will be removed from Akash, changed to from Akash to Mark, right? The second thing it will do, it will automatically re-render your application. Re-render your application basically means you earlier saw that it was saying hello Akash, but now it's saying hello Mark, right? I have not done anything. But what React has done is React has basically made a change over here itself. I did not have to do anything, right? But if I was using vanilla JavaScript, if I were to use JavaScript without any libraries or frameworks, what I need to do was I basically had to do it myself, right? I had to first get this text, hello Akash, remove the text, then change it with a new text, hello Mark, right? All of this stuff is handled by React. And this is only possible for state, right? So whatever state you have, and if you're calling the second function to change that state, it will automatically re-render your application. Let's see that in action again. If I go into elements, and the good thing about React is that you can see hello Akash over here, right? So just check out this particular space over here. Just check out this particular space over here, right? If I change name, you see it changes hello Mark. So it basically changes only this thing, right? It will not change or re-render, or it will not construct the whole HTML page again. It will only make the change wherever required. Wherever it is required, where it was over here, hello, beside hello, which was Mark. It only made the change. It did not even remove hello once again, right? It did not remove hello and rewrote the hello. Hello was already there. It only made change wherever it was required, right? So I think now, up until now, you might have now basically get the hang of state. What is state? So state is basically just a place to store data. And if we consider some data that would change over time, then we use state, right? Else you could have just simply written name over here, const name equals to something, right? You could simply have used variables. Let's call it name one. And you could have simply used name one over here, name one, right? And this would basically be hello something. So basically these variables could also be used, right? But we're not using variable. Why? Because we want to change that piece of data. That's why we have to move that thing into state. That's why we are doing that. Great. So I think I hope everyone now state concept is clear to you guys, and we'll learn a few more concepts. So let's quickly now jump into the code and start working on an application. Okay, guys. So let me just take up a few questions. Right. So let me just push this code again so that you guys can play around if you want to. Basics of React. So I have pushed it. So just go and check it out, right? So again, guys, let me just quickly go through it again. UseState is basically coming from React package. It will basically UseState function is required if you want to create a state, right? And now we have seen what state is. State is basically nothing, just data that will change over time, right? And that's why we use useState, and it will give you two things. It will basically return you an array. We are just destructuring. We are just grabbing name uh, as the first argument, which is the default value which we set. Second thing is the set function, which basically will help us to change the state, right? Set name is used over here. That's it. So you can create or have multiple states. You can have address over here, right? And set address. You can basically have multiple states. Okay, guys, so let's move on, and now let's start quickly building our application, guys, because I think we have almost 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I think that's sufficient to create our whole application. Okay. Okay, Mihir. So let me just go through that quickly as well. So this is the API which we are using, right? So just generate your access token by logging into Facebook over here, and uh, here you can see at the bottom these are the APIs, right? Just copy the API. For example, I've copied this search API, right? Just copy the API quickly. Write your access token. Just a second, yeah. So here, this is the API, guys, right? We have superhero.com API slash access token slash search slash name, right? So in place of access token over here, this is the access token, right? In place of access token, just write your token. And in place of name, this is the name, right? Just write the name of whatever you want to search. For example, Batman or things like that, right? So if I put my access token over here, if I copy it and put my access token over here, and I want to search for Batman, right? And guys, link of the GitHub repo is in the description box. Please check from there. If I search, you will see it will give me the API results, right? And one thing to note over here is, guys, that if you see the URL, it automatically changes to api.php, right? And this is the correct URL. So whatever URL is this here, it's mentioned over here, right? It's mentioned API. Just change that to api.php, right? Similarly, in this particular URL, it's API, right? And just change that to api.php, right? Just do that. Anyways, this is the API which we'll be going to use, and let's quickly just close the unnecessary stuff. And this is the repo, guys. I hope you have gone through the repo. I have pushed the latest code. It has some resources as well. Superhero API, downloading Node, downloading Create React app as well, right? So everything is there. So what you need to do is, just when you clone the repo, just do npm i, which is npm install. It will download all the dependencies for you, right? And then you can run the project. Anyway, so let's start building the project, guys, quickly. So let me remove the unnecessary stuff. Okay, guys. So our app component, guys, is basically the root most component, right? At the very top. And if you know that React is basically used to create applications using components, and a component can have like a component can be reused multiple times, right? That's why we put every code in a component, right? And a component can have another component, right? Basically what happens is you will have a tree of components, right? So inside this app component, if I have another component which I created, I can just write it like this. I can use it like this, right? This is my component. So app is the root, app has a child called my component. You will basically have a tree of components, right? A component can itself have multiple components, right? So basically, this is the principle of composability, wherein basically you can use different components, write different components, combine them together to create a single application. And we'll see that in a moment, right? So let's just quickly visualize what we'll see, right? So what application, what we are basically be building is, we will have a nav bar at the top, right? So at the very top, you will have a navigation bar. Uh, at the middle, we will have a search box, right? So a search box. So, so at the middle somewhere here, we will have a search box, right? This big search box to search for superheroes, right? Uh, and just below the search bar, we will have a list of results, which will be this long, and it will show me the different results for that particular keyword which I'm searching for, right? So it will show all the results over here in the middle, right? At the top, we will have the navbar over here. And again, I'm talking about components, guys, right? So these will be different components. At the top, we will have a navbar component. Here we will have a search component, a search bar, right? And at the middle, we will have search results. This one over here, right? We will have search results. So let's quickly do that. Let's create 3 files. And again, guys, whatever questions you have, just ask on the chat box. Create a new file, navbar.js, right? This is our one component. So basically, this is my one functional component, which is navbar, right? Don't worry about this props. We'll discuss it in a moment, right? Don't worry about that. And what are the other components which we discussed about? The next component is the search bar component, search bar.js, right? And the other component, search results. These are the 3 components, right? So using these 3 components, I am going to use these 3 components inside app, right? App is my root. It will have multiple components, right? So let's write search bar as well. Okay, so we have now created 3 components: search results, search bar, nav bar, and we have our app, right? Awesome. So now let's do one thing. Let's render the components. So at the top, we will have nav bar, right? Obviously. Just below it, we will have search results, sorry, search bar. Just below it, we will have search results, right? And we have to import these as well. Import navbar from navbar, right? Let's just copy this, paste. Let's just write search bar and search results. So we have basically got these 3 components. We have imported, right? And we have put it inside app. Let's write something over here so that we can differentiate. So guys, don't worry about RSF, Kathy. So RSF is basically just a plugin that basically will write all this code for me, right? All this functional component code for me. I do not have to write it. So it will just give me a basic code, starting code for my component. That's it. Don't worry about that. That's just a plugin I'm using for VS Code. You can just write the code by yourself, right? And I'll just push it as well. Search results. If I save, refresh. So now you see 3 things: navbar, search bar, search results. So now we have 3 components. So let's design navbar first. Right. So this is our navbar, and let's open index.css file as well. So this is the file where we'll basically write our CSS code. Okay. Cool. So on the right, I have my index file, CSS file, and on the left, I have uh, the navbar component, right? So let's quickly style it, right? I'll give it a class name. And again, you can see I'm not writing class over here. I'm using the class name keyword. Why? Because again, this is JSX. This is not JavaScript, not HTML, right? And in JavaScript, class is a reserved keyword, right? That's why I'm using class name. Class name navbar. So let's quickly use it over here and style it, right? I want to have a height of 90 pixel, border of 1 pixel solid red. I just give a border just to basically to check where the component is, right? So let's just change it quickly over here, or rather let's write code over there itself, right? So let's make it to 70 pixel. I think that's fine, right? Inside this div, I want to have a logo kind of thing on the left hand side, right? So what I'll do is here, I'll just write uh, a span tag, and this will be having my logo. So instead of having a logo, superhero, superhero, let's name our app Superhero Hunter, which will come up somewhere over here, right? So let's just quickly style it as well. So just grab the nav bar, right? Give it some padding of 10 pixel, right? We have a box sizing, border box, right? Or rather, let's just do a display of flex and justify content center. Nope, not this one. Align item center. So it will align my item center, right? And a padding of top bottom 0 and right left 10 pixel, even more, right? So I think this is fine. So let's just copy it, paste it over here, right? Save it. That's it. And now let's write this changes, style this logo as well, right? Style this as well. Again, you can style it, guys, as your convenience. I'll just be styling it in a very minimal way, right? So logo font size would be, let's say 30 pixel. Font weight would be 800. Save it. Superhero Hunter, right? That is fine for me, I think. Great. Let's remove this thing over here, or let's rather have a slightly grayish border. Yep, so this is fine. Superhero Hunter, slightly grayish border. That looks okay. Right, and in the body, I'll going to give a background of F1, just a shade of white, and I'll give a navbar background of white. Cool. So I'll just push this code, guys. I think navbar is now ready. We have our superhero hunter over here. Let me push the code, guys. I think navbar is pretty much ready. HTML, HTML, CSS wise. Status, git add all, commit -m, style navbar. right? Push origin master, and now, guys, in your repo, in the repo, you can just go and check it out. You will have the latest commit, right? So you have 5 commits now. Just go and check it out. Okay, guys, so we have basically created the navbar as well. Second part is the search bar. So let's style the component search bar. Here, what do we want to have? Nothing but an input of search. Type search. Placeholder of search, or rather hunt superheroes. Okay, cool. So I think search bar should be here now visible. Yeah, this is our search bar. So let's quickly style that as well. Uh, we will have this input search bar, right? We will give it an ID soon. But what do we want to have? Rather, what I want to do is in my app.js, I will basically surround these two things, search bar and search results. I'll enclose it in a div. Why? Because I want to center these two things, right? I'll just give it a class name of main, right? And I'll use it over here, which will basically be a width of 700 pixel, margin will be 0 auto, right? And padding top will be, rather margin top will be 20 pixel. So if you go and see, everything should be centered now. Yeah, so we have a centered thing over here, right, going on. So let's now quickly style the search bar. Let's give it a width of 100%. Awesome. And let's give it a height of 80 pixel. Too long. 50. 50 is fine, I think. I'll give a padding of left, which will be 10 pixel. Font size will be 20 pixel. Yeah, so I can search for superheroes over here. Right, so I think this is fine, and let's give it a margin bottom as well. Cool, 70 pixel is fine, I think, or rather let's have it 50 pixel. Awesome. So we have these things. Let's just copy this and paste it in our search bar, which will be this ID of search bar, right? So search bar. Great. So everything is done. I think, yeah, so we have the search bar ready as well. So something went wrong. ID is not, I have not saved this file. Refresh. And our search bar is now ready. Okay, so let's now basically just quickly push this code, guys. Add git commit. We'll come to the meaty stuff of React, guys. Don't worry about that. This is just a little bit styling part, or just creating a structure so that we can basically write a React code quickly, right? Commit -m style search bar component push origin master. Okay, guys. So I pushed the code again. Just check it out from the from the GitHub repo. So whatever questions you have, do ask. Uh, I'll answer those questions. Search results. So let's quickly go and style this. This will be an interesting one. Okay, so search results. So search result will be this whole div, or right. So let's see how I want to write it. So guys, search results will basically be this whole div in the middle, right? And each result, each search result will be a card kind of thing, wherein we'll show the image of the superhero, their details and things like that, right? So let's quickly do that. Here, basically, what I'll do is create another div, and this will basically be one search result, right? So this will have two things. What I'm thinking of, let me just quickly show it to you guys. So what I'm thinking of is every search result will be a card, this long card, right? On the left hand side of this card will be the image of the superhero. I'm using VS Code, guys, and on the right hand side of the card will be the details of that superhero, right? So let's do that. So let's create two things, two divs, right? And let me just do class name over here. This will be left part. This will be right part, right? Again, we are dividing the card into two parts. This will contain the image. So let's write the image quickly. Let's grab one of the image sources, right, from the API. So let's take this image. This will be the image. So I'll have the image over here. Alt prop super pic. Save it. Okay, so on the right hand side, what we'll have is we will have name of the superhero. So let's write the name. Let's say Batman Beyond. Right, and we'll write some other things of the superhero as well, right? So if I go and check what I can add over here is okay. Let's add some of these stats, right? Some of these stats. So I'll create another div, right? And this will have stats. Class name stats. Again, a div. Let's say, what is the stat? Intelligence is 100. Let's write strength and speed only and power, these three stats. Okay, so we have strength, 26. Right, and we will have speed. Let's say 60. Okay. And let's have power. Okay, cool. So now let's see how it looks like. Again, we have to style it as well. Yeah. So you see, it's very, big and everything. Let's style that quickly. Hmm. So let's grab this image. I think okay, cool. So let's just grab search results first. Style this. We will do display of flex. Awesome. And right, let's slide that quickly. Search results will be display of flex, right? And search results left, IMG, let's give it a height of, let's say, 100 pixel. Save it. And I think this is not looking that good. Anyways, we'll change it. Search result card will have a background of white, right? And we'll give a padding of 10 pixel, box sizing, border box, or rather remove the padding. Cool. So this will be fine. What if we do 100% over here to the image? Nope, that won't work. Let's give it a height of 150 pixel, something like that. So this is fine. Let's give it a height of 160. Okay. Okay, guys. So now we have to style this right thing over here. So let's just take over here, right? Right, and now we can basically just quickly style other things. Okay, we don't require this. Right, padding should be padding left rather should be 30 pixel. Great. So now let's target H1. So if I go here and if I go and grab the H1 quickly, I know guys this can be a little bit boring part, but I think this is required to create the whole app, right? So 5 pixel is fine. Great. Send top 5 pixel. Stats and div. Stats. Font size. 220 pixel. Let's do that. Margin bottom. Do 20 pixel. Great, guys. So I think our card is also ready. This looks okay if we have two cards. And again, this search result can be moved into a separate component, guys, right? Because again, what will happen? We will have multiple search results, right? So something like this. We will have multiple search results over here. Here you can see we have two search results, right? So we'll obviously have multiple search results. So let's move this component into a different component itself. So I'll call a new file and I'll say search result item.js. Right? This will component I will be using. Okay, and I'll just quickly copy that whole thing. and paste it over here. And now what I can do is I can simply use this search result item over here like this. I have to import it obviously. Okay, I have to import it obviously. Import search results from search results item, right? And let's close this. Okay, so now you see basically I have one search result item over here. That's it. And now I can just reuse this component multiple times over here. We have multiple search results, right? So I think our part is done, guys, for creating the whole UI. Now what we have to do is simply just write the React part, right? So now it will come the most important part, the business logic part, right? So let me just push it quickly. -m and style search results component. Okay, guys, so I have pushed it, right? Okay, guys, so I think now we have our UI, our whole UI setup, guys, and now we can simply just start writing our React logic, guys, okay? Okay, guys, so if you have any questions, guys, again, related to code, just ask over on the chat. Let's close this quickly. So now, guys, now the most important part will basically come over here, which basically means when I type something, right? I'll whenever basically I'm typing, let's say, Batman over here, I want to get the search results of Batman, right? I want to, if I type bat over here, I want to get the search results of bat, right? So definitely we will now come to the most important part, which is basically fetching some data from the API, right? Okay, so let's do that, and let's open the file app.js. Okay. So guys, now basically what will happen is we have to decide that whatever search results comes, right? Whatever is coming from the API, so where do we actually make the API call, right? So that is basically the thing that we need to take care of over here. Where do we actually make the API call, right? The search bar, this one over here, right? This will basically be responsible for getting the search results and everything, right? Because inside the search bar, if we go inside the component, we have this input box. So whatever the user is typing over here, we get it from this input, right? So either we can make a request over here, search request for the particular keyword which the user has typed. Either we can make the call over here, or we can make the call in the app component, right? Or I can make the call over here in the app component. So it's two things. So one thing over here is search bar. I will avoid making the API call over here because again, whatever the results come back from the API, I will need that amount of data inside search results component as well, right? So let's see that quickly, guys. First, let's try and make the API call over here, right? Let's try and make the API call over here in this component, and we'll see what the problem actually is. So let me quickly make it a little more readable. right? And again, now what we want to do is we want to grab what the user is actually typing, right? So for that, what do? We will have to create the on change event, right? And we will name this function handle change, right? Right at the very beginning where we basically saw the handle click event. Here we're basically seeing the on change event because whenever the user is typing, input will change, right? Okay, guys. So a lot of APIs are available online. So just if you want to get some other API like cricket, football, anything, some free APIs are there. Just Google it out, right? So now we'll call function handle change over here, right? And this will get the event, right? E is the event object, right? And the search term will be e.target.value. And again, this is just JavaScript things. E is the event object. The target.value is whatever the user is typing, right? So let's just quickly see that. Console log it and let's see it in action. So here you can see all of these terms are basically being handled as I type, right? So whenever I type something, handle change on change event will be fired and I'll get the search term over here, right? So let's remove this. What I want to do is if search term dot length is greater than 3, then only basically I want to make an API call, right? Only then I want to do so. Only if search term dot length is greater than 3, right? Because it's not, there's no point searching for the first 2 characters or 3 characters, right? Okay, so let's write the function. Search superheroes, right? And also we have to do one more thing over here is again, I will use state over here. So I will use state over here. Why? Because I want to keep track of the latest whatever user is typing, right? Search. So I will say search text set search text. Use state, initially it will be empty, and the value of this will be this one. The value will be initially the search text, and whenever this particular handle change is fired, I'll basically set the search term as this, right? And why am I doing this? Because I will require this search term in the superheroes function as well, right? So here what we want to do is we will basically fetch the API. This is the API, right? Let me just copy it. Okay. And the search term at the very end will basically be the search text, right? Whatever the user is searching. Let's make it an async function. Response equal to await fetch. Okay, and data will basically be response dot to JSON or whatever the, what was the, I think this is the syntax. Let's try console logging it. Okay, so what we're basically doing is basically using the API to fetch the data, and it will basically use this. We're basically using async await syntax. It will give me a response. I'm converting the response to JSON, and I'm then just basically console logging the data, right? Hmm. Okay, guys, let's see quickly if we have some issue. Use state is not imported. See the network, refresh, say Batman, and we have got the response. So if we do console log, here you see response is success, and we have 12 results, right? 12 results. So now here comes the problem, guys. Just understand this, right? So what will happen is this data is basically this one, right? We have console logged it over here. The results is 12. The other 12 Batman, uh, BATM, right? Results for BATM, right? The other 12 things. But the point over here is that we basically want to show it over here, right? We want to show these results. But this is search bar component, right? And inside search bar component, we do not have the search results, right? So there's a separate component called search results, which is actually inside app.js, right? This is actually inside app.js. This is the search results component. And we somehow want to get the results from this component, search results from this component into this search results component, right? And display those. So that's where the problem here occurs. We cannot make the API call and everything over here because the results will come in this component, right? And there is no way for me to transport these results to an adjacent component, which is this one. I cannot do so, right? So for this to do, is for such kind of problem, what we do is if there's some part of data, right? For example, this is the data. This is the use state, right? Search text and everything, right? If this data is required by some other component, what we do is just move this data from this component to one of the common components, right? We move this data from to a common parent of the components, all the components that require the data, right? So what is the common parent for search bar and search results? Common parent is app, right? So that's why we move everything from here to the app component, which is over here, right? But now you will basically say that we also need to store the data, the search results in state, right? Superhero data, set superhero data. Use state, and this is actually an object, right? Initially it will be an empty object. This is actually an object, right? So what you will see is it's basically an array, I think, not an object, right? So set superhero data, I'll have to do it over here. Data dot results, right? I'll say something like this. Now the superhero data is basically required by these two components, right? So now you will think that how will I basically send this data, superhero data, to the common parent component, right? And also we need to basically we need to hmm, we need to send this handle change function as well as this particular state to the search bar, right? How do we do that? So now basically comes the concept of props, right? Props is basically just as simple as in functions you pass parameters, right? You pass arguments in functions. So when you're calling a particular function, let's say you call a func, you will pass some data to it, right? Let's say some string or anything, right? So props are similar to function parameters, wherein you can pass these parameters, something like this, to these components as well, right? And these are called props. How do we do that? We simply pass props like this. I want to pass search text and set search text. I want to pass this search text as well as this function as well, right? So what I'll do is simply like this. I pass, this is now a prop. And we'll see how we can handle this, how we can get the access of this prop in search bar, right? We'll see that in a moment. But whatever we want to pass, we can pass like this. Search text, handle change is also required, right? This is the way how we can pass props, right? And now this particular data, superhero data, I can pass this data as props to search results, right? Superhero data. Yep. Superhero data. Yes, so save it. And now let's see how we can access these props, right? These are just like simple, if in a function we are passing some argument, right? Simple as that. So let's see how we can access this. In search bar, here you can see by default, there's this props coming, right? By default. And React will put these props inside this function, search bar, right? And how we can grab it? Again, we can just destructure this. Props is basically an object, right? We'll just see that in a moment as well. I'll say console.log props. And all of these things we can basically get from props, right? We will require handle change, which is coming from props, right? Where we're sending it over here. This is handle change, right? We're sending it as props. Search text, right? And also search set search text. Although set search text and search text is not required because set search text is not required because we're using it inside handle search, right? So we can just remove in app.js, we can remove set search text because it is not required over there in the component. We are using it in handle search over here, in handle search, right? Okay, awesome. So let's go over here and check. So here you can see props, right? So this props is basically an object which will have whatever you are sending, right? Here you can see handle change, which is basically a function. Search text, which is basically an empty string because it's a default string, right? Here you can see in app.js, search text is basically an empty string by default, right? And here, these two things are the only thing which we're sending as props. And we can access that as props from here, like this, right? And now if I basically go to app.js and search results, you can see I'm passing superhero data as props, right? So let's see that as well inside props over here. Right, let's console.log superhero data. Save it and refresh. You can see initially superhero data is an empty array, right? And if I search for man, here you can see this is the data response coming from this and results is 12, right? And now the superhero data, again, search results, as you can see, search results.js file, superhero data is now changed to 12 superheroes, right? 12 superheroes in the array, right? It is coming from this. Now what I can do is I can simply loop over this array and I can pass all the data inside this particular component again as props, right? Let's see how we can do that. What I can do is superhero data dot map. Again, map is basically a function, right, which will return a new array. Superhero this is basically how I'm iterating over each superhero data in the result. And what I'm passing is I'll pass the superhero data as data, right? So again, prop name can be anything, right? So I can access this superhero, each superhero as data. So let's go to search result item and grab data from here. Props console.log data over here. Save, refresh, and I'll do Batman. And here you see all of this data, right? Because it will be basically 12 times, right? 12 or 11, 12 times, yeah. Superhero data is 12 times. So uh, each and every item will be rendered like this. Here you can see 12 cards will be there, right? Because we are rendering this search result item 12 times, right? We're mapping over the array of superhero data, which is an array, right? We're mapping over the array. And for each and every superhero item, we're basically rendering this search result item, right? And I'm passing the data like this. Let's access it over here. This is the data coming, right? So I'll change the name over here as data dot name, right? And again, I'll change the source URL of the image as well, because each superhero will have different image, data.img. Here you can see for a particular superhero, data.img, data.image.url is the image URL, right? And power stats, let's see power stats. Yeah, this is the power stats. Power stats, let's copy it. So strength is basically data.powerstats.strength, right? And speed will be again the same thing. Let's copy it. Speed, right? And this will be power. Save it. Now refresh. And I think my app is ready now. Batman. And here you can see I have so many search results, 12 basically, and each and every result is different. We have bad girl, and again, these are different bad girls. Again, the name of the bad girl will be different, right? So let's add that also quickly, right? Let's add that also. If you go to console, if we see data, and in biography, we have this full name, right? Where is the full name? This is the full name. Let's add that as well. Just below the name, I'll add a span. This will be data dot biography dot full name, right? Dot full name. Awesome. Let's do this. Save it, and I think now we should be good to go. Now we have finally completed the application, and I think everything is and should work fine. So yeah, here you can see Bad Girl. This is Barbara Gordon. This is Mary Elizabeth Kane, Helena Rosa, and things like that. Let's just quickly give it some style, right? Let's give it a color of green or gray, right? Gray and a margin bottom of 5 pixels. So let's see, and I think everything should work fine. So I think, guys, now we have basically finished our application. We have, let's say Superman. We have Cyborg Superman, Henry Henshaw. We have Superboy, whose name is Connor Kent, or Superboy Prime, Kal-El, and Clark Kent, and things like that. Right. So now, finally, guys, we have basically created a superhero hunter application, wherein we just search for different superheroes. Right. And again, there are a lot of improvements to make. Right. So, for example, what we can do is over here. Uh, yeah, so what we can do is over here, if we can, as you can see over here, as I just remove the search, all of these results are still there, right? And if I search for Batman, then those results will go, right? So what you can do is, you can just do one thing. If the input text is empty, just remove the search results, right? There are a lot of things to do. So let's do that also quickly. So what I'm trying to do is over here, if search term, if search text rather, which is in the state, right? If search text dot length equals to 0, what I want to do is I want to set superhero data as an empty array, right? Because when the user has basically removed the search term from the input, I want to just make it an empty array instead of all the still existing results, right? So what I mean by that is I do Batman, all of these results are still there, right? And if I just remove it, when it becomes 0, it should basically uh, remove all the search results, which it's not. Let's just see what's happening with the search term, or rather it will be search term. So this is the application, guys, basically what we have created. And uh, if you want to basically have like add functionalities, you can add functionalities over here as well. It just cannot read map of undefined because superhero data is not an array. So let's go here and change that as well. So here what we'll do is superhero data, if nothing is there, we'll just assume it's an empty array, right? That's what we'll do over here. So guys, this is the application. I'll push it also on GitHub. So now from here, what you can do is you can basically, from now here, you can do something else. What you can do is you can basically create list. For example, if I search for Batman, and you can just basically add a button to like this particular superhero, or you can basically add this superhero to your list, right? And somewhere at the bottom or on the left hand side or on the right hand side, you can show the your basically your superhero list, whichever you have favorited, right? So here you can give a heart button which will say favorite your superhero, add it to your list, and I can search for different superheroes. Superman, it will give me Superman and things like that, right? I think Robin, and everything would be there, right? So now we have basically finished our application, guys. Okay, so Mansi, good question. So what is actually happening is when I'm doing BATM, it is basically actually taking just bat, right? So it's taking only the previous 3 terms, right? Not the latest one. That's why it's happening. If I do BATMA, it will basically take BATM, right? Not the A part. So we can basically change that. So over here, search results, yeah. So it's basically taking a different thing. So if you want to keep it in sync, rather what we can do is here send the search text over here inside this as an argument, right? Okay, well, that's it, guys. And I think one more thing what you can do is implement debouncing on search over here. What debouncing basically means is If I go to network, if I remove everything, and if you can just see for each and every keyword, my search is basically being hit, right? For each and every keyword, right? This is not a very good solution, right? Why is that? For each and every key type, you're basically hitting the API, right? So what we actually do is we debounce a function, and what that basically means is it will only hit the API when I stop typing for X amount of seconds, right? So for example, if I want to type Batman, BATMAN, right? So instead of searching BAT, BATM, BATMA, BATMAN, instead of searching everything, what you can do is you can wait for the user to stop typing, right? And then search, right? So what happens is we wait for 200 ms. If the user stops typing for 200 ms, 200 millisecond, then only we hit the API, right? So for example, if I want to type for Superman, right? If I do super, now if I have stopped typing, right, only now the API will hit, right? If I do super space man, now the API will start hitting, right? Because now 200 ms is passed, right? But what happens is, for example, if I'm still typing superman this and that, now API will not be hit, right? So here at the bottom you can see API still being hit, right? But I'm still typing, so API will not hit. When I stop typing for 200 ms, only then the API will hit. So that is called debouncing. Look it up and do implement it. It's a technique to basically improve your search, right? And stop bombardment of your servers. Okay. Okay, that's great, guys. So I think this is it for today's session. So we have already built a superhero app, right? And we can search for superhero. You can basically take it further by implementing, going steps forward, and implementing much more functionalities, right? So I'll say git status, git add all, and I'll commit it as well. Finish search, right? And I'll push. Great, guys. So I've pushed the latest code, guys, onto the repo. Just go and check it out. Every code is there. Almost everything is there. Every commit is there, basically. And I will basically add a few more things in the README as well, how to run the project and things like that, and everything later on. And I'll provide the link of the this particular session, this particular YouTube session as well over here. Right? I'll put everything. So great, guys. I hope you enjoyed this session. And in the next session, we'll bring something different, something new related to React. And if you're still interested, we have a few more React sessions, React Firebase, and we have already also built a Slack clone. If you have not watched those videos, you can go and watch those bootcamp as well. You can just go and check the videos of the Coding Ninjas channel, right? So, okay, guys, thank you for attending a session. I hope you basically learned something from this session. I hope you learned something or the other from this particular session, and you got some insights from this session. Some right. So awesome, guys. So let's just end the session. Thank you for attending, and it was a great experience teaching you guys this React superhero app. And I will see you in the next session. So till then, stay safe, guys. Stay home and stay safe. Goodbye.